Mastering Commissioning, the Ultimate Scheduling Guide. In this video, I'm so excited because I'm going to use these flip charts behind me to explain how I approach commissioning in a project schedule or in a project production plan. And it's so crucial because you have to have a plan all the way to the finish. So if you want to know how to visualize it, how to actually put it into your overall production plan or schedule, and really how to even think about it and approach it, then you've come to the right place. This is the video for you. Okay, so I really am. I'm not faking it. Like, I am stoked about this. Commissioning is my jam. I love it. I'm not a commissioning expert. I'm not an expert on MEP, but over the years being a superintendent and supervising MEP and working with MEP trade partners, I've got just enough to be dangerous, but I've gotten really good at being able to put these in our production plans. So I'm going to share that with you right now. And if it's good enough, I hope you like and subscribe to this video. We're almost at 20,000 subscribers. Let's take this away and go through the content. So I know that projects do not follow this same kind of a pattern all the time, but for simplicity, just for this video, I'll take just a regular building. Let's just take a regular building. This could be a laboratory, it could be a hospital, office building, whatever you want. But the way I visualize MEP and commissioning in a project schedule or production plan is namely this. So typically you'll have your off-site utilities, right? And those will come in, and typically you'll pay for those to be stubbed in to about 5 feet away from the building. So the utilities, this is like water, sewer, storm drain, power, communications, gas. You're bringing all of these in. I call that utilities, the on-site utilities, or the utilities infrastructure, okay? That comes into that 5 feet within the building. Then you're going to bring them in, and I call that the entry room. So you're going to be taking these same things, right? Your water will come into your fire pump room. It will come into your mechanical room to feed your domestic water. It might even feed out here to your irrigation. I already said to your fire pump, right? Your sewer, you're obviously going to connect your sewer to your sewer system. Storm drain, connect your storm drains. Power is going to come in through the service entry section. Communications is going to come in through your main distribution frame, your MDF, right? And gas could come up typically, anywhere where it's safe and per the design, typically in the mechanical room. So this is like the first step, bringing the utilities to the building. Second step, the way I visualize it, is bringing it into your entry rooms, your ground level. That isn't always the case, right? Sometimes in different buildings, it'll come into a certain part of the parking garage or different locations. But in this example, typically ground floor, your entry rooms. Then you're going to want to come up the building. This is stage number 3. This is when you're coming up the electrical rooms, your independent distribution frames, your bathrooms, your chases, right? This is when most of what you need is coming up the building. The main things that I'm worried about here are power, communications, internet for the overall commissioning of the HVAC system. I want all of these systems to come up and feed the roof. Now, like I said, not every building is the same, but let's say hypothetically, and actually on all of the hospitals, laboratories, airports that I've ever been in charge of building with the project team, we've always had air handlers. So the air handlers delivering to the project site was a main milestone. So coming up, we need duct, we need hydraulic piping so that we feed hot and cold water. We need, like I said, the internet, controls, and power. So that's coming up through the chases, up through the electrical rooms, up through your main and independent distribution frames. The purpose here is to fly in the air handlers and then do your hookup to power, to controls. Make sure you're doing your dry side, wet side connections, doing your mechanical startup, your point to point, and then putting these things in hand. And the typical process here would be for this to exhaust the building, and then also to supply, especially in Phoenix, cool air in the summer months. Now, if you're in colder parts of the world, then maybe you're talking about heating. You want your heaters up and running. I'm used to, we want the air handlers cooling this building, purging this building, and creating an environment where the workers are safe when the building is enclosed. But typically this is important. If it's not important for temporary conditioning, let's say you've handled that some other way, you'll at least need to have it for your test and balance period. You'll need it for building flush. You'll need it for your overall commissioning activities. So then, once the system is working, then you go into your pre-functional checklist, your functional performance testing, right? Your full test and balance, and then the building flush. So this is how I look at it, is step number 1, utilities to the building, through the entry rooms, vertically, and then step number 4, to the actual HVAC system so it's operating and you can start to commission this system as a whole. So this is a very nice way to look at it. This is not zone by zone, systematic, easily broken out, consistent schedule type work. This is not zone by zone. This is system by system. You're going to be, when I was in charge of MEP as an MEP superintendent, I would actually print out the one-line diagram or the single-line diagram, the flow diagrams for the HVAC system, heating, hot water, chilled water, and put these up on the wall and see how the system started to design to actually get a complete system so that we could get the HVAC system up and running. So I want to show you how that actually goes into a project production plan right now. So that's the way I visualize it. Now let's go into how we actually plug it in to a project master schedule or the master plan. I like calling them production plans after reading Todd Zabel's book, Built to Fail, because it really is a production plan. It's not just a schedule. So we always do our construction production planning efforts in a time by location format. And I want to communicate that you might have your foundations, you might have your superstructure, right? You have your, let's say you have your interiors and your exterior potentially, and then this ties to site work, this ties to commissioning, and you typically have your substantial completion date and your start date. Typically, a project schedule will have these phases. Now, what I'm going to attempt to do really well is communicate how I look at the overall production plan when it comes to commissioning. So let me start here with the interior. So I'll just go ahead and write INT. Inside this sequence right here, you will typically have, and I'm going to rely on the notes for this if you want more detail or if you want to reach out to us. But typically you'll have, your overhead mechanical, your framing, your in-wall rough-in, your drywall, painting, casework, all of these things. There's a certain point right after paint where we need to start connecting the dry side and wet side. That means your duct and your hydronic piping to any HVAC equipment and your power and your controls. So I will put in the actual sequence here the time when we do dry side, wet side, connect power, connect controls, and then do the pre-functional checklist, and then what's called point to point. This is where the controls professionals are making sure that the controls cabling and the overall system, your building management system, everything is talking to the individual pieces of equipment and everything is landed properly on the equipment. So you have power, you have water, you have your duct, and you have your controls cabling connected to the actual equipment, and they've done the point to point on each of the pieces of equipment per the floor, and we're ready to go. So once the pre-functional checklist is in here, the point to point is done, that kicks off a milestone on every floor that then says, hey, we're ready to do the point to point throughout the entire building. So every specific floor, I'll have these commissioning activities inside that sequence. Let's say that this was, zone 1, 2, 3, 4, or maybe it's floor 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever, but I'll have it at every floor. Now, I will always make sure that in some portion of the overall production plan that I detail out the electrical rooms, okay? And these electrical rooms you can have it as one overall sequence, or you can say, hey, level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, service entry section is complete. But I want to know not only is when is the individual commissioning activities ready by floor, but when do I have overall power? Then I want to know, and when I say communications and controls, typically you'll run your point-to-point through the overall building network, so you might need to have your racks installed and the internet up and running, or you run your controls cabling vertically through the building to connect either one. Either way, I want to make sure that the main distribution frame, the independent distribution frames, and everything from running controls throughout the project site is ready to go. The other thing is I want to make sure that heating hot water, chilled water, domestic water, and I think probably you're going to need your sanitary so that you can drain some of this stuff. But I need to make sure that all of the hydronic piping systems are 100% complete. Now, the only other thing that I would say is wherever you put it here in the overall production plan, I want to see when do you land your air handlers and your equipment and your exhaust fans, and when do you land your pumps. So all of these, this milestone, 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 and this is the bare minimum. There's more to it. I'm just showing you how to approach it. So the individual commissioning activities by floor, the setting of the HVAC system, the electrical running up through the building, the internet and controls running up through the building, your hydronic piping, and obviously your duct. I'll go ahead and add duct up here. All should come together, and this is the release. All of these release together, I'll just draw it like that, for us to start doing a couple of things. Blowing air, doing the exhaust, obviously if you have a clean building, but then this allows you to do your overall point-to-point, your test and balance, your fire alarm integration, your functional performance testing, and then your building flush. So this has to be built into the overall structure, and you have to track these to release the rest of this. So typically in construction production plans, you'll see at the end of this that you have these commissioning activities. So it'll be like a couple of little bars out to the end. The point that I'm attempting to make is that yes, your overall point-to-point should be looped in, your test and balance should be looped in, fire alarm integration, functional performance testing, and building flush. So that's all going to end up here. But what I want to make clear is that this is tied to the individual floors, it's tied to your air handlers, it's tied to power, it's tied to your comms and internet, and it's tied to all of that infrastructure coming up the building. So this is how it's done. And this little individual with all the blue hair that I just drew, I hope that didn't confuse us. But the bottom line is all of these things have to come together and be in your production plan, and then that releases your overall commissioning duration here. That's how you show it. One last thing that I want to say, and hopefully if this is good enough, you like and subscribe to the video. But one of the things that I would say is that understanding this piece is crucial, right? Typically for substantial completion at the end, you're going to need to finish, have your inspections done, engineering walk. You're going to have your elevators, your life safety, all of your fire sprinklers up and running 100%. You're going to have a punch list, a preliminary balancing report, and any of the sign-offs by the local authority having jurisdiction, and then you can receive your substantial completion. Knowing exactly what the substantial completion requirements are is crucial in this phase, because you need to network this. This is one of the most important pull plans you'll do on your project, so you know how you can finish. And like I said, all of those things are included in there. So even with the point-to-point test and balance, fire alarm integration, functional performance testing, and flush, you'll also want to put in here your elevator inspections, fire alarm testing, life safety inspections, fire sprinkler, anything over here, ADA inspection. This all has to go with it in order for you to meet this end milestone of substantial completion. Now, you're probably like, Jay Money, this is a lot. Here's what I want you to take away from this. I want you to know how to visualize it. We already drew that. I want you to know how to approach the individual systems and how they tie to the overall commissioning. You can do this now. The key that I want you to remember is that the project superintendent must have this vision with the PM, be able to network it together, manage it, understand the complexity, the conditions of satisfaction for success, and start sooner. Meaning, typically project teams don't start to understand this soon enough, and that is detrimental. So if you want more information about this, I'm going to link in the description below. I'm going to link you to a Miro board that shows the activities that have to be networked, and we're going to give you a Canva graphic that shows you how to do it. And we are experts at creating these production plans. Put us in, we can help you. We're also going to add a section into our new book that's coming out August 1st, 2024, called Elevating Construction First Planners. I hope you've loved this content. I'm so passionate. I love this stuff. On we go.